Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Matters of Faith, the radio show. Matters of Faith is a show designed to bring issues of interest to you, the listening and viewing audience, that will put a biblical perspective on everyday issues. I am your host,
The Reverend Dr. J. Lauren Russell, and it is my job to engage you in stimulating dialogue that's inspiring, encouraging, and motivating, dialogue and conversations that will help you build your determination, your commitment, and your character, conversations that will help you keep the faith. Everyone born of God overcomes the world. This is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith. 1 John chapter 5, verse 4. And now, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, without further ado, it is time for Matters of Faith, the radio show. It's Monday, January 15th, 2024, and tonight we're celebrating the birth of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I am your host and producer, Reverend Dr. J. Lauren Russell, and tonight we're talking about mountaintop experiences for ordinary realities. And my very special guest is Reverend Dr. Emery Ailes. We're talking about mountaintop experiences for ordinary realities. And we're right here on Matters of Faith, the YouTube channel. So tell a phone and tell a friend that they want to tune in and join us on Matters of Faith tonight, right now, on the Matters of Faith YouTube channel with Reverend Dr. Emery Ailes as we discuss mountaintop experiences for ordinary realities. Please don't forget our sponsors and advertisers, the JLR Company and J. Lauren Russell Consulting, LLC. For all of your church financial consulting needs, we have a website, www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. That's jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. Or telephone us at 718-328-8096, 718-328-8096. If you need a church loan, if you need to develop your property, if you want to know how to maintain your church property, if you need to train your trustees, if you need evangelism training, give us a call. We'll help. It's not about the castle. It's about the kingdom. Matters of Faith, the book. Through our Cash App, $ Matters of Faith, the book is $23.92. You can send your check or money order to the Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. That's Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035, and address it to the JLR Company. You can also get it as an ebook. Just go to www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. Once again, www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. Check out the Eat Okra app for all black-owned restaurants all over the nation. Yes, that's right, Eat Okra. And then subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. We are now broadcasting Matters of Faith on our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, and share it with a friend. And also, get your subscription to Better Mag magazine today. A 2-year subscription is only $27.50. Go to www.abettermag.com. That's www.abettermag.com. My guest tonight, Reverend Dr. Emery Ailes, invites you to join us for an inspiring virtual Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. program, Embrace the Spirit of Unity and Equality, on Wednesday, January 17th at 7 p.m. Martin Luther King Jr. NAACP Youth Council's Zoom meeting ID is 836-8048-7404. I'm going to repeat that. 836-804-7404, and the passcode is KING, K-I-N-G. This event highlights opening remarks, powerful insights on Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy, interactive discussions, engaging with youth leaders on social justice issues, educational workshops, and understanding civil rights and equality today. Any youth, anywhere, is welcome and invited to join and to attend as we celebrate diversity and inclusion. For more information, please contact an email lifelineuniversityedu@gmail.com. That's lifelineuniversityedu@gmail.com. Don't miss this inspiring evening, this inspirational evening, this fantastic, this historical evening. Together, we're celebrating Dr. King's legacy of love, equality, and justice. And now it's time for the article, Mountaintop Experiences for Ordinary Realities. That article can be found in my column, Matters of Faith, at the Bronx Chronicle, www.thebronxchronicle.com. You can also find it in the Yonkers Insider, www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. Better Mag Magazine, www.abettermag.com, and Pamela's Big Heart Newsletter. Scroll down until you find my column, Matters of Faith. You'll find the article, and it is entitled tonight, Mountaintop Experiences for Ordinary Realities. Mark chapter 9, verses 2 through 9 from the New King James Version. Now after 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John and led them up on a high mountain, apart by themselves. And he was transfigured before them. His clothes became shining, exceedingly white, like snow, such as no launderer on earth can whiten them. And Elijah appeared to them with Moses, and they were talking with Jesus. Then Peter answered and said to Jesus, Rabbi, it is good for us to be here, and let us make 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. Because he did not know what to say, for they were greatly afraid. And a cloud came and overshadowed them, and a voice came out of the cloud saying, This is my beloved Son, hear him. Suddenly, when they had looked around, they saw no one anymore, but only Jesus with themselves. As they descended the mountainside, he told them never to mention what they had seen until after he had risen from the dead. Mountaintop experiences for ordinary realities. Most of us would like to have a mountaintop experience like Peter, James, and John, to witness firsthand the transfiguration of Jesus before their very eyes, an experience where they saw his clothes begin to shine and blaze in a brighter white than any laundry detergent could produce, an experience that enabled them to see in great splendor Moses and Elijah join Jesus as they talked about his great mission to the world. Peter, James, and John would go on to be the forefathers of the church, but right then they were as amazed as any of us would be if we found ourselves in similar circumstances. The impetuous one, known by the name of Peter, couldn't help and couldn't hold his excitement and blurted out, Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Let us make 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. Peter wanted to freeze this experience and last his entire lifetime. He wasn't yet aware that this mountaintop experience was for his ordinary realities. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. preached his own homegoing service. On April 3rd, 1968, the night before he was assassinated, he talked about a mountaintop experience when he said, well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. And I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And he's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Reverend Dr. King realized that his mountaintop experience was for ordinary realities. To those who were with him and those who were there to hear his sermon, to stay on at that Mason Hall and bask in the glory of those great words would have been nothing short of amazing. But like Peter, James, and John, the lives of the people was where the essence of that experience would gain its true meaning. They saw Jesus' transfiguration, the brightness of his countenance, the appearance of the prophets, but that was for the message they would take to ordinary realities, not for them to memorialize with a statue. The attendees of that sanitation workers union strike in Memphis saw their leader, heard his impassioned plea, felt his great love, but it was not so they could build a shrine in his honor, but to be encouraged to stand up for justice, equity, righteousness, and equality, ordinary realities, even if it cost them their lives. Jesus knew the cross was awaiting him, but he also knew that his crucifixion was the way of salvation. Reverend Dr. King could sense his death when he peered over the mountainside and saw the promised land. Both mountaintop experiences were for ordinary realities, salvation and justice for humanity. In 2024, should your mountaintop experience come, will you be ready to apply it to ordinary reality? Be blessed. Now here's my question for tonight. Should your mountaintop experience come in 2024, will you be ready to apply it to your ordinary reality? Let me ask it again. Should your mountaintop experience come in 2024, will you be ready to apply it to your ordinary reality? Matters of Faith family, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce to some and to present to others my special guest tonight, Reverend Dr. Emory Ailes. Dr. Ailes is the founder and pastor of pristine Spring Hill Baptist Church in Spring Hill, Florida, where he has served for the past 8 years. And prior to his founding Pristine, he served as an associate minister at the historic Convent Avenue Baptist Church in Harlem, USA. He has served as the adjunct professor at Pasco Hernando State College for the past 7 years and is also a certified paralegal, a title he has held for over 22 years. He earned his Master of Divinity degree from Alliance Theological Seminary in 2009, then went on to obtain the Doctor of Ministry degree from that prestigious learning institution known as Drew University, with a Matters of Faith family, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce to some and to present to others my special guest tonight, Reverend Dr. Emory Ailes. Dr. Ailes is the founder and pastor of Pristine Spring Hill Baptist Church in Spring Hill, Florida, where he has served for the past 8 years. And prior to his founding Pristine, he served as an associate minister at the historic Convent Avenue Baptist Church in Harlem, USA. He has served as the adjunct professor at Pasco Hernando State College for the past 7 years and is also a certified paralegal, a title he has held for over 22 years. He earned his Master of Divinity degree from Alliance Theological Seminary in 2009, then went on to obtain the Doctor of Ministry degree from that prestigious learning institution known as Drew University, with a concentration in behavioral modification in 2012. Dr. Ailes has been married to the lovely minister Regina Ailes, serving together in ministry for 14 years. They are the proud parents of 2 God-fearing children, Tawana Edwards and Emory Ailes IV, and grandparents to Deanna, Abigail, Regina Thurston. He describes himself as a humble servant of the living and loving God, interested in and minding the things of God, with a concentration on community and economic development of his kingdom. Matters of Faith family, would you welcome with me tonight my very special guest, my friend, my brother in ministry, Reverend Dr. Emory Ailes. Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to now put myself on screen, and bam, there I am. And I'm also going to stop my share so that all of you can see me. Dr. Ailes is waiting to get in. I have to give him the code. I gave him the wrong one, so let me give it to him now. So give me 1 second, if you will. I'm going to make sure this happens, and he'll be right with us. But you've been introduced to him. You already know who he is. And so this is going to be fun because you've seen him before. He's been with us on many occasions in the past, but this is his first visit with us in 2024, which is amazing. This is a great thing. So this is 2024. He is now with us, and he will be with us momentarily. Just as soon as I get through hitting this number, then he can join us and we'll be with him. He'll be with us. So thank you all for joining us here at Matters of Faith. I appreciate you. Thank you for being with us on the Matters of Faith YouTube channel. This is our first, well, actually the second broadcast that we're making on YouTube. So I really appreciate your being here. Thank you for your patience with us. This is a new format for us, and so we're learning it. And so if we don't get it all the first time, we will get it right. I promise you, we will get it right. So just stay with us, be a participant, look, listen, and learn. Tonight's broadcast is very sentimental to me because it involves a tribute to one that I hold near and dear to my heart, who has meant so much to me in my life, and that is Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This is actually the day of his birth. We're not celebrating the day of or the day after, the day before. This is the day that he has been given to us, that the Lord planted him to be able to be an inspiration and a blessing to those of us on this side of the Jordan and those of us who've gone on to join him in eternity. And so, one more second. Got it. Okay. So now Dr. Ailes will be with us in just a second. But again, the topic of discussion tonight, I hope you read the article. It can be found in the Bronx Chronicle, the Yonkers Insider, and it's entitled Mountaintop Experiences for Ordinary Realities. Mountaintop Experiences for Ordinary Reality. And as I promised, here he is, Reverend Dr. Emory Ailes. Dr. Ailes, how are you, my brother? Unmute yourself. I know that you're there. So would you do me a favor? I have introduced you. I have read your bio. People know who you are. They know that you've been at pristine Spring Hill Baptist Church for now 8 years. They know that you were associate minister at the prestigious Convent Avenue Baptist Church. They know that you have been with and doing work with your with Pasco Hernando State College for the past 7 years, and a certified paralegal that you've been doing for 22 years. They also know that you're married and your lovely wife works with you in ministry. So they know all of that. Now tell us something about you that we don't know and we really should know.
Well, good evening, Reverend Dr. Lauren Russell, and thank you so much for having me as your guest here on Matters of Faith. And good evening, all. No, you got everything kind of down pat there. Just maybe a slight detail. We've been down here. We planted in 2013, so we're actually going on 11 years in ministry here in Spring Hill.
Okay.
And yes, we've been doing some extensive work with PHSC, Pasco Hernando State College. Since then, we have created and maintained partnership with St. Pete College, Hillsborough County Community College, and we also founded our very own educational institution called the Lifeline University down here in Spring Hill, Florida as well.
Now talk about that for a moment, because that's new to the audience. They didn't know about that before. So talk about that new educational wing that you just started, because also I talked about the event that's going to take place on Wednesday. So I know that it's tied together. So would you just bring us up to snuff on those things?
Yes, absolutely. So Lifeline, the root word, the lifeline is life, and life is an acronym that means stands for linking in faith and education. And we created this linking in faith and education motif earlier on back in 2017, 2018, 2019. But at the onset of COVID, it really became into fruition where the world stopped. And we had to create actually a lifeline for the entire world to be there first to address the trauma and the grief of COVID. So our motif is linking faith and education and mental health and wellness. And we've been doing that since 2020, March of 2020, and it'll be almost 4 years. We've incorporated as a not-for-profit 501c3, and we're recognized here in the state of Florida in the by Department of Education of Florida, and we are in the Hernando School Board District 98 school number 9828.
And so and thank you for sharing that, by the way. That's an amazing accomplishment, because that means that you're now reaching out and engaging people at various levels of their need. And I think that's phenomenal. And then, of course, this event is coming up on Wednesday. And I know that you're going to tweak it some in terms of its direction, but tell us a little bit about what that's about, because I'm going to be with you on Wednesday evening. So I need to hear what that's about too.
So, linking in faith and education, once again, Lifeline University, the root word is life, linking in faith and education. We use linking in faith and education to address several social justice issues. Linking in faith and education to address suicide and veterans and suicide. Linking in faith and education to stop the dropout rate amongst African Americans. Linking in faith and education to address youth, and suicide. And so Lifeline University has teamed up with the local NAACP Youth Council. And now, so we are turning our attention to linking faith and education to address the African American studies and African American history and things like that that's going on down here in Florida. And so we're going to have a panel from the NAACP Youth Council, Unit 57G1-B, and they're going to talk about their issues, their social justice issues of this time, similar to what Malcolm X and Martin King did. We're celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, and we're going to extend it through this whole entire week. And Wednesday, tomorrow, will be our platform with the NAACP Youth Council, and we're going to put them up front. We're going to let them have their say, because they do have something to say.
That's awesome. Do you know that Dr. King actually joined NAACP down in Montgomery, Alabama, when he was before he even got officially to the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church? And he was heavily involved in that. And of course, that was looked at as a radical thing to do at that time. But he did it because he believed in literally the integration of humanity, that would be the way in which we would be able to solve our issues. And he said something interesting, and I've always felt this is true for myself, and I've always lived by this, is that the reason that we have conflict is because we don't trust each other, and we don't trust each other because we don't communicate with one another. We don't communicate with one another because we're separated from one another.
And that couldn't really be so much of the truth, even right down here, right now, specifically in Hernando County, Spring Hill, right here in Florida, here, in South Brooksville, right here. We're here. We know we have these issues, but we separated, and we don't communicate with one another. And so this is one of the reasons why we're putting together this platform, so that we can communicate with one another, and so that we can also give the next generation voice. So that they have a voice, and not only give them a voice, but we want to make sure that they know that they have our support as well.
And so what I like about that is that when Dr. King was talking about this, he was talking about the races, but in our community, we're talking about each other. The youth don't talk to the adults don't talk to the youth. Those who are in school don't talk to those who are out of school. I mean, it's just division, and we don't have communication, and that's got to stop. And I love this idea of doing this. Embrace the spirit of unity and equality and equity. And diversity and inclusion. I think that's a phenomenal thing. So for those of you who are looking at the screen, I want you to see this number. The meeting ID is 836-8048-7404. So let me say that again. It's 836-8048-7404. And the passcode is King, K-I-N-G, King, all capital letters, King. So make sure that you make note of that so that you can be a part of it. If you get a chance, invite some young person to come and join you.
Please
invite some young person. And young, and please understand this. When I say young, they could be 35 years old.
Yes.
Because unfortunately, in our community, we got a lot of children dying of old age. So we have to make sure that we expose each other to each other so that the conversation is genuine. We're really communicating with one another. I'm gonna stop that share. I think they have it now, and then we'll go from there. But thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Ailes. I appreciate that. I really do. The topic of conversation, we're talking about mountaintop experiences for ordinary realities. And I'm looking at what you're doing, particularly with this workshop and other things, is mountaintop experiences, taking people to the pinnacle so that they can see the other side. As Dr. King said, I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. And it's good that they're doing that. It's good that you're doing that. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about how you are engaging people at various levels, especially using Lifeline to help them to have a mountaintop experience?
Well, first of all, mountaintop experience, and what's that whole theme? A mountaintop experience,
ordinary reality.
From an ordinary, yeah. So, let me just speak speak to the ordinary reality.
Okay.
Thing first. I come from Harlem. Right there, ordinary reality, Convent Avenue Baptist Church, and just blessed to be celebrating this year 20 years of being licensed by the Reverend Dr. Clarence P. Grant. A humble man. He took me up under his wing, and he believed more in me than I believed in myself. So we talking about humble and ordinary beginnings. That's where we started. But then coming down and after being licensed and being ordained and being raised as a son of convent and then being sent, you and I met. And I do want to just take this time to thank you as well for the foundation that you helped lay for the Pristine Spring Hill Baptist Church with your work with the North American Mission Board there and Send North America. And you sent us, and we came down and we planted Pristine Baptist Church 10 years ago, a little bit over 10 years ago today. And how the Lord, it's just amazing how we have seen the Lord grow us and groom us and move us and fed us and lead us. We have not wanted not one day. He has opened doors that nobody can close doors that nobody can open. We are in Hernando Correctional Institution every single Thursday from 1:30 to 3:30. We are in Noble Senior Citizens facility every single Sunday. Right after we worship, after our worship service, the Lord moved us, planted us from 2013, starting out in a parking lot in front of the UPS store, into Beef O'Brady's for a couple of years, into another church facility, Hope Community Bible Church, into now the Hernando County Sheriff's Office Community Center, where we are worshiping right there in the center of South Brooksville on MLK Boulevard. And how are we getting the word out? We're getting it right to the people. We're going walking up and down the streets of Twig Street, Leonard Street, MLK, Josephine Street, Easy Street, School Street, School Street, where the old Moulton High School still stands. The old Moulton High School was old Moulton High School, the segregated high school, where all of the blacks had to go to from kindergarten through 12th grade. We are doing economic development in that particular community even right now. Can these bones live? Yes, these bones can live. We take the message up to the Board of County Commissioners, and we sit in front of the Board of County Commissioners, and we first start with a word of God, and we let the Holy Ghost go for it between us first, and then we list out all of what Lifeline is doing in the community and the needs of the community, and then we hold the county commissioners, we hold their feet to the fire. We let them know that we elected you, and we can unelect you, it's as well. And then God has blessed us to have one of our members have come along. She learned all of the things that we were doing in the community, and she actually joined our church. Sister Sarah Nachin. Sarah Nachin works for the Hernando County Sun, which is the local newspaper. And so almost everything that we do, by the grace of God, as we have done Angel Tree this past Christmas, and we went right on into our Kwanzaa observance, and then now we are in MLK weekend week. She has been right there covering us and publishing it right in the Hernando County Sun. And then you can also see us on Facebook, Instagram, and we have now also just developed our brand new YouTube channel where we produce and air on every 2 times a week, Monday and Wednesday. You get the word on Monday, and then you get a mental health and wellness message on Wednesday. So those are some of the things that we do to get the word out and to engage people on all levels. For example, another example, this past Saturday when we had our Martin Luther King Jr. Luncheon in NAACP Youth Council, we invited the Congressman Bill Arrakis, and members of the school board, and members of the Board of County Commissioners, local county commissioners, and members of the Chamber of Commerce. And they all came and they supported us, and some gave us their sponsorship. And we do even have a nod and a recommendation and full support from Congressman Bill Arrakis. And so one of the things that we're going to do this week is we're going to make an appointment with his assistant and sit down with her and to talk chicken, talk real numbers about what we really need and how they can come alongside of us and help to fulfill a need in a community that has been marginalized, and relics of Jim Crow is still visible. By the way, they still have the a Confederate statue that still stands right in front of the government building right here in South Brooksville as well. Brooksville, named after Preston Brooks, who was one of the senators, United States senators, who actually beat down 1897 and beat down somebody on the Senate floor because that person spoke up to abolish slavery. So this is the backdrop and where that the Lord has sent us, and the Lord has been doing some great work ever since 2013.
So Brookville. So I guess one of the things that you're working with, I guess, with the county commissioners is seeing if you can take that statue down.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Something else.
Well, and that's an uphill battle because the year, I believe it was in 2014 or 15, where the nation was taking all their statues down. The young girl got killed over in Virginia when that happened, when that was going on across the nation, all around the world. This place put a fence up around their statue. As if to dare anybody to touch it. So nevertheless, we did demonstrate, in front of that same building, in front of that same statue, Black Lives Matter, that year. But yes, it has been a uphill battle. Um, uh, Hernando County, historically, uh, uh, was once one of the most notorious counties in the country in lynching per capita at one time, and they're very steep in these Confederate traditions, pre Civil War conditions um, there. So yes.
Yeah, and you're also in the state that they want to abolish teaching Black history in the schools, as well as talking about how good slavery was for Black folks.
Yes.
Yeah, you got one of the, I mean, you got a challenge, but you know what? You know what? The challenge is good because it actually puts people, it allows you to put and confront people right where they are. Because a lot of people support it who may in fact say to their friends, colleagues, relatives, and associates that they're not racist, that they don't have race, they don't feel that they're racist. But a part of the problem is a part of the problem that I spoke of before, is the lack of communication, really, to understand that your insensitivity is what makes you that way. And so this day of celebration that we look at Dr. King, Dr. King was wise enough to look at the circumstances in the society and really lay blame where it belonged. And he said that, everybody has the potential for doing good, but it's easy to fall into the trap of doing wrong.
Yeah, brother. And that's why I don't feel no ways tired, man, because because like today, I am encouraged. We had the luncheon on Saturday. The young people really stepped up, man, and I posted it all on my Facebook page. They voiced their concerns. They got their hand on the pulse beat there. They returned yesterday at the ecumenical service at Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Church here in Twin Lake here in South Brooksville. They returned today as we returned again back over here on MLK Boulevard, and we marched down MLK Boulevard. They were right out in front, with signs that says, let us learn African American studies and Pan African American studies matter, and things like that. And so I don't feel no ways tied, bro. I don't
Yeah.
feel no ways tied. I am encouraged. The future looks bright. I mean, I'm reminded of W.E.B. Du Bois. W.E.B. Du Bois, who was part of founding the NAACP. You know what he wrote? You know what he wrote? What he said? He said the problem of the 21st century, he says, is going to be the color line. And he had already written that. Like, he already written that back then. And he talked about the talented 10th and then the talented 100th. And this is where we come into play with the church, the Black church, and also linking in faith and education with our Black institutions like Lifeline University and mental health and wellness. We'll be able to move the needle and the amount here in the 21st century and raise up 21st century kings and Malcolm X's and W.E.B. Du Bois's. And it's essential that we do that, not only for them, but also for us, because they're going to be the ones that's going to be taking care of us when we have to retire.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: the lifeline. How can you, and what are you doing to pick up the pieces, if you will, right now, of the fallout from this position that the governor has taken to sort of eliminate, and I'm sure you've seen some reduction in the teaching of African American history in schools. And it's interesting because when I was in school a number of years ago, I got a little wear and tear on my tires now, so this goes back a while. But I remember when I was in elementary and junior high school, and what they taught us about Black history was as warped and as distorted as anything I can remember. I mean, everything about the Congo was essentially was about savages and the rainforests and things like that. it was more about the environment than it was the people. And every time we talked about the people, they showed us pictures of people who were, sort of what you might call it, crude, that
Yes.
were anti-social. They were not refined, and all of these kinds of things. And so that's what they told us, that's what they showed us, that's what they taught us. And then I remember getting into high school, and I was given the assignment of writing a book report. And I chose to write the book report. And by the way, at that time, I had already read the autobiography of Malcolm X. I'd already read Iceberg Slim and all those other books reading, right? And I
Yeah.
decided to do the report on Before the Mayflower by LaRon Bennett.
Okay. Yes.
And I was so enraptured with this because I literally began to find out the real history of people who looked like me, who came from a place that I knew we came from, but their real history. And
Yes.
I wrote what was, they asked for, I think, a 2 or 3 page, a report. I think I wrote a 50-page report.
Wow.
I was amazed. I was totally amazed. And it really enraptured me. And when I went to college, the first class I enrolled in was Black History, because they had Black History courses at the City University of New York in those days.
Yes.
First class
Yes.
I enrolled in, because I needed to get that understanding. I needed to know more. My appetite was whet, and I needed to satisfy it.
So to answer your question, I'm going to answer the question on a couple of levels here, on what we're doing, and then also what we can further do. What we're doing. So I wrote 3 books. One, a step-by-step guide how to get closer to God. 2, Carry On Community Development Corporation, how to create your own 501c3 faith-based organization. 3, embracing healing and restoration, a biblical path forward. I'm getting ready to finish up on a 3rd doctorate degree in education with curriculum and instruction. What we're doing at Lifeline University, we're not held to whatever barriers that Governor DeSantis in this state and this governor is trying to, construct as a private educational institution. So we create our own curriculum, and be responsible for teaching our own. Once again, going back to W.E.B. Du Bois' Talented 10. W.E. Du Bois' Talented 10, he theorized that it's going to be the responsibility of the talented 10%, the educated 10% of Black folks, is going to be responsible for turning around, educating the other 90%. And so, I think the script is already written. All we have to do is just follow the script. What I'm doing is not unique. There are they're called freedom schools that are popping up in churches down in Tampa and in other areas, right? And creating our own library and being responsible for developing our own curriculum and teaching our own history, so that this way we don't have to depend on nobody else teaching us or depend on someone else's, allowing our history to be written in their, in their curriculum. The other thing that we can do as well, we can start challenging, being as how they're challenging, the Toni Morrison, the Bluest Eye, so we can start challenging some of the United States government books. We can start challenging the story of George Washington, who never told, they come to my chop down the tree and never told a lie. So we can challenge them say that we want them banned. So that's another thing that we can do as well. But then we got options, especially in 2004, we have to take Kuju Jakalia is the second principle.
Yes.
Self-determination, bro.
Mm-hmm.
We got to define ourselves and be determined to do for ourselves, and don't have to ask nobody for their validation. Over to you.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that. I'm gonna segue that into discussion about that scripture that I used for the article, Gospel of Mark, chapter 9, verses 2 through 9, where Peter, James, and John went up to the mountaintop, and Jesus was transfigured before them, and they saw something that they never saw before. They not only saw Jesus transform and begin to shine with a whiteness that the Bible says that not even the best laundry in the world could produce. And then they saw Elijah and they saw Moses with Jesus speaking with him. And I wrote talking about his great mission to the world. This encounter that they had at the mountaintop. And what I'm looking at, what I'm hearing you say is that to and some levels you are creating a mountaintop experience for people, so that they can have an opportunity to begin to glean from that, because when they go back into the world, which is where Jesus sent them, when Peter blurted out, let's build three temples, one for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah, and Jesus essentially said, no, the ministry is not here in a shrine, it's down there with the people. And so, I like, and you said your third PhD, did you not?
Yes, sir.
So here we're talking about reaching a level of educational scholastic achievement that few in our community would ever achieve. However, you're not staying at the campus level. And I liken that to Dr. King, who likewise, was one of the brightest students that his professors said they'd ever taught, right? Very intellectual, very cultured, very refined, very smart. And they encouraged him to be a professor. And he wanted to do that. He said, I'll pastor for a few years, I'll come back and I'll be a professor. But that's not what the Lord called him to do. Now, you've written 3 books, you got more coming out of you, I know that. And now you're working on the third PhD, you got the D-Man, and now you're working on 2 other PhDs. Now, what I'm looking at is someone who has stood on the mountaintop, seen Elijah, seen Moses, saw the transfiguration of Christ, and now coming back into the world, back down to the hood, to say, this is what the talented 10, as Dr. Du Bois would say, but this is what the Lord has said to me, and this is what I want to share with you. And let them all be exposed to what you have come to know when you had your mountaintop experience.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Did I hear right?
Yes, sir.
See,
yes, sir.
I'm the thing I think that scares me. Yeah, the thing that scares me probably more than anything else, Doc, is that we've got some folks who have ascended the mountain and decided that they're going to stay there. They've decided that they're going to build the temple, they're going to build a shrine, and they stay there. Literally, with others who are there, who likewise have decided that they're going to stay there. And so all of that they have gained is of no value, because the others who will not be able to attain the height of that accomplishment will never benefit.
So let's just talk about that for a minute, Reverend Lauren Russell, because that's timely. That's timely. Because as we were reflective of all of the Lord's hand and what He is doing, and how He's leading us and feeding us up through into the mountaintop experience, there are plenty that should, you're absolutely right, that should be down in the valley doing the work that have not left the mountaintop, that have stayed there. The question that I have is what, and that I ask this other because okay, give you an example. At the luncheon yesterday, on Saturday, there were only two pastors there
Hmm.
out of 70 people, with half of them being youth, having something to say. At the ecumenical service, um, we titled it an ecumenical service, but there were only four pastors in the pulpit, and all of us were Baptists.
Hmm.
Today, when we marched, we had the march down MLK Boulevard.
Hmm.
Two pastors was in that march. So what do we do about those who, like you say, have arisen to the mountaintop experience, but want to stay up in the mountain, don't want to go back down in the valley where the issues are and where the people are?
I've been wrestling with this for a while. I look at it and I think, I'm involved in a lot of different organizations, activities, and different types of things. Not because I'm trying to be seen, but simply because it has to be done. And if not me, who? And if not now, when? I can't take any of these gifts, talents, and things that the Lord has given to me with me when he calls me home. Whatever I have, if it's not given away, it dies with me. So I look around and I see some of the organizations and institutions that I'm affiliated with. And it is sometimes discouraging when some don't always step up to the plate and do what they've said they were going to do.
Could I just interject?
Please,
could I just interject and just give you a little, just make it just a little bit more discouraging?
Mm-hmm.
Let me be specific. Is the Black church relevant in the 21st century?
Yeah.
Or is the Black church losing its relevancy?
That's a good question, you see, because I'm doing, every year around this time, I do more and more study about Dr. King. I like the life and the legacy and the way in which Dr. King lived his life. And I like learning. So I'm reading a book, and I've had it for a number of years. In fact, I got it, and James Cone wrote the book, and he signed it for me in 2004. It's called Martin and Malcolm and America, A Dream or a Nightmare. You might have read that book before, but I was looking at
I heard of it.
And in this book, he examines both of their lives, the dreamer and the one who lived a nightmare. And Dr. King, in his life, he was blessed. He was really blessed. His parents were able to send him through school. He went to Morehouse. He went to Crozier. He went to Boston College. He went to some of the finest universities, finest educational facilities in the world. Excelled, brilliant mind. His parents paid for his education until he got his PhD. He could stay and live on campuses while he was studying. He could focus and concentrate on learning while he was in college. Most people that I know who go to school do it on the side. Don't have the luxury of being able to just focus and put all your attention to your schooling. He did, but he recognized that, and he actually, he knew that he was gifted and blessed because he had the opportunity to do that. Now you look on the other side, Malcolm didn't have those opportunities, right? Malcolm's father was killed. Malcolm's mother was bipolar or schizophrenic. Malcolm grew up, his father was a preacher, likewise, but his father was not a liked preacher. He was a rebellious preacher, and he got killed. And so Malcolm's life was completely different than Martin's was. He grew up, if you will, in the hood. Martin grew up as a middle-class citizen, black, but middle class. Now, the thing that I noticed about his life in this James Cone writing is that Dr. King wanted to learn so that he could share, so that he could bring that information back. But when he chose Dexter Avenue Baptist Church, chose it because it was an affluent church. He chose it because it was a, you might call it a white collar church, you know. A lot of people, everybody was professors. Most of them had college degrees. And so he could use his education, he could speak to them in his language that he became familiar with. So he chose that because he identified with it. He didn't identify with the hooping and hollering that we do in our churches sometimes of the preacher. He was more of an intellectual. Now, truth be told, I like the intellectual style of preaching. I'm not a hooper. I can't hoop. Not my style. But I understand it because he was more about educating of the people, as opposed to, as James Cone wrote, and he quoted Dr. King, playing off of their emotionalism. Something he never really wanted to do. And you know, he never did. He never did. He always was pulled you up to a higher level. You know, and he said words. He wanted to have some big words in his vocabulary. So he learned a lot of big words. And he did a phenomenal work at reaching people right where they were. And he was able to transcend his scholastic, what's the word I'm looking for? His scholastic accomplishments, and bring them down to the grassroots level. So he took his mountaintop experiences at Morehouse, Boston College, Crozier, and took all of those and brought them back down to a level where the average person, even if he spoke and used words that they did not understand, he used them in such a way that you kind of could figure them out. And was able to, because of his commitment to his assignment, literally impact the world.
So then my question and still remains, what is it that he did or had then that is missing from the equation now, and particularly the Black church? Because he had Abernathy, he had Jesse, he formed the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and then like you said, and then brought in SNCC, and these other organizations. So what is that thing then? Is it still and is it still relevant today? Or is it not? Or is it or is it? I mean, we had the Memphis Three, and I know that they, they had a challenge and they addressed the challenge. But is that enough? Is that, a king-like movement to start from? Or not? Or was that's just like a flick or a flash, and then just died out?
Well, I hear the question. I think I get it. The thing for me is that the church,
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
the church,
Yes.
um, you know, Now, this is for me. There may be some pastors listening to this. They may not want to ever invite me to their church again, but that's okay. But for me, I think we get more emotionalism. We get more into the emotional aspects of the church than we do the real understanding of what this gospel is all about. It's a salvific gospel. It's not only about saving your soul eternally, but helping you to raise up your level of being while you're here in the land of the dying. And I mean, I'm a former disc jockey. I'm a DJ from back in the day. I heard brother say today he was talking about history of hip hop, and he was talking about it from an historical perspective that he heard about. I don't have to hear about it. I lived it. When they say Kool Herc, or when they say that he started it, well, that's not quite true. Because there was a gentleman by the name of Pete DJ Jones who was around before any of them. Pete DJ Jones used to do community parties and stuff like that, and he was doing that kind of mixing then. He changed it a little bit, but it wasn't new. It was a modification. I remember going to the motel on the mountain with my father, with my daddy. And was in 1973, 1974. My mother had already died. We went up there to a party. My dad took me to a party. I was still in high school. Pete DJ Jones was there. He was renowned. Tore the place up. People dancing all over the place. I remember that. Made me want to do that. And so when I heard, when I hear all the stories about this, that, and that, I know that that's not completely true. Right. But I know, because I've been there. And so when I think about it, when I use this as an example, I hear a lot of preachers preach, and I hear younger preachers preach just like the older preachers preached, because that's what they know. That's what they heard. There's nothing new for that under the sun. I'm not trying to be like the other preachers were. I'm not trying to do that. Because the people's souls are so important to me. The people's existence, their ability to do better for themselves and their community is so important to me. I want to see people not take on a responsibility that they just shrug off like it doesn't matter. If you commit yourself to it, live up to your commitment. It's the commitment. It's if you give your word, you keep your word. Listen, I had an event, something happened to me the first Sunday of the year that's never happened to me in my 19, 20 plus years of ministry or speaking publicly or anywhere else. I missed a preaching assignment and don't know why. I did not, just say, I'm not going. I knew I was supposed to be there. I had to preach 3 times. I did not, for some reason, it slipped my mind. Some reason. I beat myself up for 2-3 days behind that. My sister said, things happen for a reason. Now, I'm telling you because I want you to hear this. Audience, I want you to hear this. That night, Sunday night, I got a telephone call from a friend of mine. Nope, text me. Please pray for my son. He was in a car accident. He's in ICU. So I called her right away. We talked, we prayed. Next day, I went to see her. Went to see him at the hospital. Yes, he was in ICU, getting ready to go to the operating room. One of the occupants of the car was killed. 4 occupants. I prayed for him, prayed for the doctors. I did what I do. right?
Yes.
Because of who I am, not because of the things that I do, because this is who I am.
That's right.
And then I began to say, well, Lord, then something has to happen good out of this. I don't know what it is. And if everything happens for a reason, maybe the Lord said, I don't want you to go because there's an accident waiting for you.
Right,
if you go.
right.
But I don't know that. But I know that that evening I was in a position to pray for my friend's son like I'd not been in a position to pray for anybody before, because that situation never happened to me before. You follow what I'm saying? So here's the point. Then we're gonna go to just introduce I'm gonna reread the article and all that kind of stuff, and we're gonna discuss that when we come back. But here was the thing that got to me, right? Sometimes your mountaintop experiences can seem like they're in the valley. Can seem like they are in the valley. You can go through the worst time, worst condition, the worst scenario, but that's your mountaintop experience. Okay, let me segue because I'm a little bit over my time, but I want to make sure that we get this in. So let me segue. I have put something on the screen for all to see. I am going to disappear. You can do this likewise for a moment. You've been dark all the while, so you got light for a minute, but you can go dark for a minute now too, as I go through and just go ahead and let everybody see what we're going to do, and read the story and watch and recognize our advertisers and sponsors.
Sure.
Please don't forget our sponsors and advertisers, the JLR Company and J. Lauren Russell Consulting, LLC. For all of your church financial consulting needs, we have a website, www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. That's jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. Or telephone us at 718-328-8096, 718-328-8096. If you need a church loan, if you need to develop your property, if you want to know how to maintain your church property, if you need to train your trustees, if you need evangelism training, give us a call. We'll help. It's not about the castle. It's about the kingdom. Matters of Faith, the book. Through our Cash App, $ Matters of Faith, the book is $23.92. You can send your check or money order to the Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. That's Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035, and address it to the JLR Company. You can also get it as an ebook. Just go to www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. Once again, www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. Check out the Eat Okra app for all Black-owned restaurants all over the nation. Yes, that's right. Eat Okra. And then subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. We are now broadcasting Matters of Faith on our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, and share it with a friend. And also, get your subscription to Better Mag magazine today. A 2-year subscription is only $27.50. Go to www.abettermag.com. That's www.abettermag.com. My guest tonight, Reverend Dr. Emery Ailes, invites you to join us for an inspiring virtual Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. program, Embrace the Spirit of Unity and Equality, on Wednesday, January 17th at 7 p.m. Martin Luther King Jr. NAACP Youth Council's Zoom meeting ID is 836-8048-7404. I'm going to repeat that. 836-804-7404, and the passcode is KING, K-I-N-G. This event highlights opening remarks, powerful insights on Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy, interactive discussions, engaging with youth leaders on social justice issues, educational workshops, and understanding civil rights and equality today. Any youth, anywhere, is welcome and invited to join and to attend as we celebrate diversity and inclusion. For more information, please contact and email lifelineuniversityedu@gmail.com. That's lifelineuniversityedu@gmail.com. Don't miss this inspiring evening, this inspirational evening, this fantastic, this historical evening. Together, we're celebrating Dr. King's legacy of love, equality, and justice. And now it's time for the article, Mountaintop Experiences for Ordinary Realities. That article can be found in my column, Matters of Faith, at the Bronx Chronicle, www.thebronxchronicle.com. You can also find it in the Yonkers Insider, www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. Better Mag Magazine, www.abettermag.com, and Pamela's Big Heart Newsletter. Scroll down until you find my column, Matters of Faith. You'll find the article, and it is entitled tonight, Mountaintop Experiences for Ordinary Realities. Mark chapter 9, verses 2 through 9 from the New King James Version. Now after 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John, and led them up on a high mountain, apart by themselves. And he was transfigured before them. His clothes became shining, exceedingly white, like snow, such as no launderer on earth can whiten them. And Elijah appeared to them with Moses, and they were talking with Jesus. Then Peter answered and said to Jesus, Rabbi, it is good for us to be here, and let us make 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. Because he did not know what to say, for they were greatly afraid. And a cloud came and overshadowed them, and a voice came out of the cloud saying, This is my beloved Son, hear him. Suddenly, when they had looked around, they saw no one anymore, but only Jesus with themselves. As they descended the mountainside, he told them never to mention what they had seen until after he had risen from the dead. Mountaintop experiences for ordinary realities. Most of us would like to have a mountaintop experience like Peter, James, and John, to witness firsthand the transfiguration of Jesus before their very eyes, an experience where they saw his clothes begin to shine and blaze in a brighter white than any laundry detergent could produce, an experience that enabled them to see in great splendor Moses and Elijah join Jesus as they talked about his great mission to the world. Peter, James, and John would go on to be the forefathers of the church, but right then they were as amazed as any of us would be if we found ourselves in similar circumstances. The impetuous one, known by the name of Peter, couldn't help and couldn't hold his excitement and blurted out, Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Let us make 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. Peter wanted to freeze this experience and last his entire lifetime. He wasn't yet aware that this mountaintop experience was for his ordinary realities. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. preached his own homegoing service. On April 3rd, 1968, the night before he was assassinated, he talked about a mountaintop experience when he said, well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop and I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And he's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Reverend Dr. King realized that his mountaintop experience was for ordinary realities. To those who were with him and those who were there to hear his sermon, to stay on at that Mason Hall and bask in the glory of those great words would have been nothing short of amazing. But like Peter, James, and John, The lives of the people was where the essence of that experience would gain its true meaning. They saw Jesus' transfiguration, the brightness of his countenance, the appearance of the prophets, but that was for the message they would take to ordinary realities, not for them to memorialize with a statue. The attendees of that sanitation workers union strike in Memphis saw their leader, heard his impassioned plea, felt his great love, but it was not so they could build a shrine in his honor, but to be encouraged to stand up for justice, equity, righteousness, and equality, ordinary realities, even if it cost them their lives. Jesus knew the cross was awaiting him, but he also knew that his crucifixion was the way of salvation. Reverend Dr. King could sense his death when he peered over the mountainside and saw the promised land. Both mountaintop experiences were for ordinary realities, salvation and justice for humanity. In 2024, should your mountaintop experience come, will you be ready to apply it to ordinary reality? Be blessed. Now, here's my question for the last time tonight, and I really want to challenge you, so I'm going to put a little twist to it. Should your mountaintop experience come in 2024, are you prepared? And then, will you be ready, willing, and able to apply it to your ordinary reality? Let me ask it again. Should your mountaintop experience come in 2024, are you prepared? And will you be ready to apply it? Ready, willing, able to apply it to your ordinary reality. Matters of Faith family, you already have a feel for who Reverend Dr. Emory Ailes is, but when you look at this picture, you'll see who he really is. Someone who impacts the lives of men and women, boys and girls, any and everywhere he is. He's the epitome of someone who's come down from the mountaintop and applies what he knows to ordinary realities. So Matters of Faith family, would you help me to welcome back to the show for the second half my guest tonight, Reverend Dr. Emory Ailes. Dr. Ailes, are you there now? Because I want to bring you back on. Unmute yourself. Come on back.
I certainly am, beloved. I'm here.
Excellent, excellent. I'm glad to have you. So listen, the question that I asked tonight, relative to the article that was written, should your mountaintop experience come in 2024, are you prepared, willing, and able to apply it to your ordinary reality? I want to ask that question of you because I know it's kind of superfluous to ask it of you because you do that anyway. You live that life. You live that life. So let me sort of twist the question and ask you, as a minister of the gospel, as a proclaimer of this phenomenal gospel that we know of salvific of magnitude, how can we help our brothers and our sisters to recognize a mountaintop experience when they get it, even if it looks like a valley experience, and then help them to prepare to take that mountaintop experience and apply it to ordinary, everyday realities?
Well, once again, thank you, Reverend Dr. Russell, for inviting me back. I certainly had a wonderful time thus far. I guess if we refer to the scripture, at first, Peter didn't want to really apply his mountaintop experience. Nobody.
Nope.
He just wanted
me. Let's stay right here. Me, myself, and I.
He said, "Look here. So let's just make these three tabernacles right here.
That's right.
And we can stay here forever, to eternity." And although that may have sounded, wonderful, and noble, to be there, with our Savior, in white there, and transformed and transfigured. Jesus had a way of ministering to him at that moment. And if you read down, look after that, little couple of verses after that scripture, I believe when they got back down to the valley, there was some issues going on, and the people was even upset because they had brought the issue to the other disciples and they couldn't even answer them. So had they not come down from their mountaintop experience, right, he was able to demonstrate to Peter, what could have happened, or what maybe would not have happened if they had not come back down to the valley. And so if I believe, following the scripture and following Jesus's lead, if we could try to apply, how Jesus handled Peter and the other disciple there, then, perhaps we can minister to others and minister to those today in our existential reality about, yes, embracing the mountaintop experience, but how the need of taking that experience back into the valley, because somebody's down there in the valley that's going to need that same type of experience.
That's a keen insight. I think about Peter, James, and John, the inner circle, and what they saw, how Peter responded, how they went back and they came into a situation. When they got back, there was something going on. And so, and by the way, while they were on this mountain and in the process of seeing Elijah and of seeing Moses, do you know that they had a Trinity experience as well?
Yes.
Cloud showed up and the voice from heaven spoke. Not only was their experience one of a material, a physical experience, but they had a supernatural experience because they literally experienced the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit all at the same time. And they saw the great crowd of witnesses in Moses and Elijah.
Yes.
They had a full scope of everything. Everything. And Peter, I mean, look, if I was there, I might have said the same thing. Let's just build 3 temples this year.
Yes, I can
mean,
understand.
Come on, we can invite them to come up here.
Yes.
But the Lord says, no, this is not where the work is. We're not calling you, you ever see the movie? I've used this, and I preached a sermon that I call I Gotta Find Bubba. You've seen the movie Forrest Gump, right? Most people have.
Yeah.
There's a scene in there when they're in Vietnam. Bubba got shot. And long story short, he died right on the beachfront. But the point that I like to point out is that Forrest was able to make it out of the line of fire. He was in safety. He was in a place of peace and calm. He was on the seashore, right? No more gunshots, no more bombs. Everything was fine. He was at a place of salvation. He could have built the temple right there and stayed.
That's right.
But he said, Bubba, I got to find Bubba. And he turns around and goes right back into the line of fire.
Yeah.
Found tons of people that he brought out because he was the only one who knew where that place of peace was.
Yeah.
No one else could have brought them there but him.
Yeah.
When God gives you a mountaintop experience, he expects you to go back in the fire and pull some, as Jude says, pull some.
That's right. That's a word there. That's the word there. That's the word there.
You got to be willing to go back where you came from and pull them out of the fire. That's what disturbs me probably more than anything else. People have had these phenomenal experiences. They've made money. They've gotten positions. They've been able to climb the ladder of success, and then they don't want to come back.
That's
not
that's
gospel.
An atrocity. That's not gospel. That's not Jesus.
No, it's not. That's what bothers me more than anything else.
Think about it. If the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords can come down off of his throne and come back to his people, reveal himself to his people. And listen, he didn't come through the temple. He didn't even come to the temple.
No, he didn't. In fact, he put everybody out of the temple.
He came through a mangy manger.
Yep.
In fact, a spot that's similar to Harlem or Bronx or North New Jersey. Could anything good come up out of Nazareth?
Right.
Come on, somebody.
And he
went back. He went back, and he was the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords.
That's
so
right.
How much more are we supposed to go back and save those? I'm reminded of a poem by Walter Dromgoole, The Bridge Builder. You know what would have happened if that bridge builder didn't build that bridge? That young lad coming behind him wouldn't have been able to cross that chasm that was not to him. So that's another reason why we got to go back. And especially today, because these youth are dependent upon us coming back.
Yes.
Because if not, they have no blueprint. They have nothing to go on.
Nothing.
Except to depend on whatever they come up with themselves.
That's right. The blind can't lead the blind.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? We have in this, Emery, I'm telling you, it brings tears to my eyes and it breaks my heart when I think about what we've been able to accomplish since Dr. King led the way. Malcolm X led the way. Back in 1985, did a workshop. It was a self-awareness workshop for 7 days in the mountains of California. It was the most intense, most introspective thing I've ever done in my life. It changed my life. I've never, ever been the same since. We played a game. It's called the Domino game. And the first order by, quote unquote, the guys, the facilitators, was that they split us up. There was 99 of us in this workshop. 50 on one, 49 on the other. They said, this is not a democratic process. You will know your leader in your heart. Everyone on my side looked at me. I was made the leader. I was humble. You have no idea. And it was a war. We fought a war. And that war was, for dominion. The scene was we were in ancient Japan or ancient China. And the daimyos, right? The daimyos, they controlled everything. I was a daimyo. And we were at war. And how they won, they were in battle. So if you and I were in battle, we would stand on one foot. And whoever foot touched the ground first, that person died. We carried them off to the cemetery. Others, they did rock, scissors, paper. Whoever lost, they died. They went to the cemetery. And then we had ninjas, and the ninjas had Smurf balls. And at my direction, they could throw a Smurf ball, and if they hit you with it, you're dead. You got to die and get thrown out, taken to the cemetery. So we were called, the other daimyo and I were summoned before the gods. God said, they said something to me, and I spoke back. And he said, you don't speak to the gods. Die. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I laid down, I said, oh my, what did I do? What have I done? And then he said, no, you're not dead. Get up. Get up. You can't speak. Go back to your people, but you can't speak to them. I went back and I led my people. They didn't know that I lost my speech, right?
Right.
I'm leading them. I can't talk to them. We won the war. We won. We had like 15, 16 people left. All of their people were dead. The daimyo challenged me. He could have surrendered, committed harikari, or challenged me. He challenged me. I lost that battle. I died. All of the people who were following me were given a choice. You could follow him or commit harikari. All of them committed harikari. Now, everybody in the entire world is dead except this one guy. Everybody is dead except this one guy. So they brought everybody back out. I was there. I was lying in the middle of the floor.
Right.
They brought everybody back. They're in a big circle. People were crying. People were, just all kind. You have no idea because people recognize that this is how they lived their life. They were killed in the very first second because they didn't take things seriously. And everybody had a different experience, right? And here I am lying on this ground. And I'm saying all of this because when I was given a chance to speak, I said to the people, I know what Malcolm X and Martin Luther King must have felt like. When all that they did, all the work that they put in, the sacrifices that they made, even unto their own life. And everybody committed harikari. Nobody won. I would expect of you, those of you who killed yourselves, that you would have taken what we had as a people.
Yeah.
And empowered them to live a different life. Everybody is dead. That, among all of the things that we did in those 7 days, was the most transformative thing I've ever done in my life. When I left there, I was a different man. I say that to say this. When you have a mountaintop experience, God, when you have a mountaintop experience, it's your responsibility.
Yes, sir.
To take it back to the people, because it wasn't for you, it was for them.
That's right.
You're just a conduit. You are someone that God can use.
There you go.
Unless you refuse, then your work is in vain.
There you go.
That's what I think about so much, and I can't. That's why I put myself in positions to do, because the Lord has gifted me. I can't take anything with me when God calls me from time to eternity. Not a thing. If I haven't given it away, it goes with me to the cemetery.
Reverend, I think you kind of answered your question. How do we get or minister, to other folks? And that's exactly how we minister to them. We have to let them know that first, that their life is really not their own, and that their mountaintop experiences, whether it's on the mountaintop or in the valley, they're not their experiences for them, but they're for somebody else. And their lives really belong to the Lord for him to use them until the time that he calls him home, calls that person home.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly right. It's not about you. We have to understand this, right? What you have and what you've been given. Yeah, use it, enjoy it, then give it away. Because
if you're going through something, then you say, okay, Lord, then what is this that I need to get out of? What is it that I need to learn from this?
Yes. Cheryl asked the question. So are you saying that the experiences we survived informs us of who we are equipped to lead? Let me see. To lead to salvation. Yes, Cheryl, that's exactly what I'm saying. Whatever it is, see, we take the mountaintop experience like we should see the triune God, the transfiguration of Christ, that we ought to see Elijah and Moses. Sometimes you see death. Sometimes you see destruction. Sometimes you see illness. Sometimes you see the worst of things. That's your mountaintop experience. The Lord is using, he can use anything. All things work together for good to those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. So we can't get twisted that some of the things that we experience are going to try our very souls.
And could I just add on to that? And what is the sister's name? Sheila?
Cheryl.
Sister Cheryl. And that goes for even some of the things that you may think that you're going through, that it is all your fault, or there's something may be wrong with you. Mm-hmm. And it is not your fault, and there is nothing really wrong with you. Is that God is using you and using this particular situation because he has something for you to do in the very next chapter.
Yep, exactly. And you couldn't do it unless you went through this. You couldn't do it unless you had that experience. Peter and John, listen to this. Peter and John went into the temple. What they see? Who they see? A man begging alms. Did they not?
Yes.
And what did they say to him? Peter, what did he say to him? Same one who said, let's stay up here and build temples. What did he say to that man? Silver and gold have I none. Such as I have, give I unto thee. In the name of Jesus of Nazareth, rise up and walk.
Yes, sir.
Now, had he not been at that mountaintop experience, he would have never been able to do that.
That's right. That's good. That's a good word, Reverend.
We tend to want to see, okay, I got this blessing me, so I got a car, I got a house, I got this, I got a big bank. All of that's all material nonsense. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
I heard somebody say one time,
but if you don't share it, what good is it anyway?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
come on.
Good.
Well, I mean, so what? If you got a 50,000 square foot house, and nobody comes to visit you, you just had a real big morgue.
That's right, and you're miserable.
Absolutely. It's not about you. It's not about you. I mean, think about it. We got this guy who who literally talks about people all the time. Everybody's a loser. Everybody's this or that. Everybody, except him. Of course, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Because it's all about him. Narcissism. When you focus everything on you, everything has got to be about you.
And Reverend, let me just say, I get it. I understand emotions.
Right.
Someone hurts my feelings. If someone steps on my toe, right, I can get, I'm gonna feel that. I understand that. And if someone deliberately steps on my toe, like continuing, and I keep trying to tell them stop stepping on my toe, I get that. I get that too. I understand that. But at the end of the day, something like, we're talking here, right? And we're talking about this principle, and it may be a hard principle, but it's true. At the end of the day, it's even with him stepping on my toe, it's really not about me. I gotta ask the Lord, what is he trying to, really teach me about this gentleman or this person, And whether it's just continually stepping on my toe, physical stepping on your toe, or you got them people who just mentally step on your toe every year, every day.
Exactly.
Get on your nerve.
Right. I've said people say, get on my nerves. I say, well, do you wear your nerves on your shirt sleeve? Because it seems like anybody who touches your shirt sleeve gets your undivided attention.
And see there, and then that goes back into the mental health and wellness.
Absolutely.
And we don't talk about this much in the Black community, but mental health and wellness is important. And knowing self-care, not selfish care, but self-care, is key. That's another thing that we talk about. That's what makes Lifeline the Lifeline, the Lincoln Faith and Education and Mental Wellness. We have a lot of people, bro, that's walking around, that are needing mental health and wellness hygiene.
Last week we did a show on mental health. I had Reverend Dr. Zolika Adams with me. And Zolika is a therapist. She's a PhD therapist. She's amazing. If you hadn't seen it, go back and watch that show. That was amazing. She dropped some pearls of wisdom on us about how we should function and do. And I took copious notes because she was sharing with us things that, my God, if we ever get to the point that we recognize and we are able to embrace these mountaintop experiences, as don't have to be always the best, but she said something. I'll give you, for instance, she says, I differentiate between nice and kind. She says, I don't want you to be nice to me, be kind, because of niceness can be undergirded by a lot of other things. Lots of other things. And so she dropped some pearls of wisdom. You absolutely need to talk to her, because she understands health and wellness from a mental perspective, for mental health, mental wellness. And we have, through my Rotary connection, and as the district governor, I've started at the request of the Rotary International president, we started a committee in my district to address mental health. And we had a first mental health conference last month in Chinatown. And
I love it.
In China, the culture around mental health is like it's taboo. You don't even talk about it. It's like, is it as bad as it is in our neighborhood?
Yes, I was just getting ready to say, similar to our culture.
That's right. And so we, it's like, get over it.
And we have to break those that's one of the things that the Lifeline University does. We address those taboos,
yes,
so that we can tear those taboos down.
Exactly.
So yeah, I would love to bring her on. I'd love to bring her on.
Oh yeah, talk to her
one Thursday morning.
Yes, sir.
And she can present, on the second half of the Lifeline, our mental health and wellness piece. in addition, Reverend, I like us to work on this project this year for 2024. I would like us to work on to see how many pastors that we can get certified as mental health first aiders. Because I believe that one of the things that we lack as pastors is that training that Reverend Dr. Uh, 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 King had, right? The
Yes.
formal training, formal trainer, Reverend Dr. Clarence P. Grant told us that we had to have, right? But not only in seminary, but also in the mental health and wellness area.
Right. Well, I'd be delighted to do that. Let's see if we can work something out. I may have to wait until like after June when my tenure as governor is over, because my calendar is kind of full. But I would love to be able to do that. In fact, I can start it and look at doing some training with those organizations that I have some leverage with, like the Associate Ministers Auxiliary and the New York State Chaplain Workers Task Force.
So let's do it. So Lifeline University, we have a a a grant and opportunity to be able to offer it.
Okay.
Working with the National Mental Health and Wellness Association. And we can do it virtually, actually.
Okay. We'll make it happen. I like that. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. And see, that's what I think. That's what I think. This particular episode really focuses on, right? This mountaintop experience, learning, growing intellectually and otherwise, and then taking that intellect, taking that knowledge, and then bringing it back down to ordinary realities. What's the ordinary reality? People are suffering psychological illness. They need help. And some of it, as I said in the show last week, some help comes through medication, through therapies, but some comes supernaturally. And as ministers of the gospel, as people who are of faith, we know that some people need a spiritual, supernatural intervention. And we can bring that because we have a relationship with the same God that transfigured on the mountaintop, the same God that appeared as a cloud, the same God whose voice was heard. That's the same God we have a relationship with. That's the same God who equipped Peter and John to tell that man that I may not have this which you think you want, silver and gold, but what I have, I'll give to you, which will transform your life. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk. And sometimes it may not be a physical walk, but it could be a spiritual walk. You get up from that position. Receive Christ as your Savior. Understand that He loves you. And now stand up and declare it. And that changes lives, man. You know, that's just the thing that I feel so deeply.
Quoting from the late Reverend Dr. Calvin Butts, he said, linking in faith and education is like the like the Tigris and the Euphrates of our liberation, twin rivers at the center of our redemption.
I like that. I definitely like that. I definitely do. Wow. This is amazing. Now, I got to get you back on because I got to get you with your face on so that people can see who's talking to them.
Brother, I want to profusely apologize. I am driving and I almost did not make it on. I had technical difficulty. I thank you so much for texting me the access that I would be able to have access at least, because I did not want to miss this auspicious opportunity to be one of the things that you were talking about, earlier, to be, to be consistent and to be determined, and whatever we say that we when we give our word that we're saying that we're going to do something, to do it.
Yeah.
And to show up. Thank you for telling me that testimony that you forgot a
Yeah.
preaching assignment.
Yeah.
So if I had forgotten tonight, then maybe I wouldn't have felt too bad.
But it's interesting, right? That happened. And again, the sermon that I preached that day was actually for me. Because
Wow.
it was on mental wellness.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
when I had that, right, when I had that lapse in memory, and I was asking myself, am I even going to be able to preach at the church that I'm serving? Because I was feeling so bad about it. And then as I was preaching, I realized that the Lord had been speaking to me all the while. That he used that opportunity to minister to me. So he made real the verse of scripture that all things do work together for good to those who love the Lord.
And preachers, you know
it
what?
doesn't matter.
Preacher, you just helped somebody on this radio station today to let them know that they serve a God that it doesn't even that he has the best interest in his heart.
Yes. And he will never leave you, nor
Yes.
will he forsake you.
Yes. So with your mental those anxieties that you have, because I know I would have been anxious. I missed the preaching, man. I would have beat myself
Oh
up
man,
forever.
I did, because
Did you go see it? Did you go see it? Did you
he
go see a
pastored
therapist?
both of the churches, not
Did you
one, two of them.
did you go see a therapist?
Well, actually, I did. Zoleka Adams was my guest on Monday night, so I did.
See, so now you're even normalizing, right? You are tearing down the stigma of going and seeking mental health and
Yes.
wellness, even on the spot, even us pastors.
Yes.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for
Well,
sharing that.
listen, I mean, just to make sure everybody understands this clearly, in 1982, I began seeing a psychologist. I saw the psychologist for about 3.5 years because I had to get myself right. Because I was carrying baggage that I did not know how to carry. And Dr. Craig Polite helped to turn my life around. In fact, that seminar that I was talking about, it was his recommendation that I do it. And I did. And he literally immortalized me because he put me in one of the books that he's written.
Wow.
You know what the book is called? Children of the Dream, The Psychology of Black Success.
Wow.
And I'm in that book. A chapter is devoted, my name on it, James Russell. I was not using Lauren then. It's James Russell. The chapter is based on my life.
Wow.
On my life. He's immortalized me by writing about me in a book. And I said, you think that you thought that much about me that you included me in your book? And if you read my bio, on my bio everywhere, it says that I am in the book Children of the Dream, The Psychology of Black Success by Audrey Edwards and Dr. Craig Polite.
Phenomenal.
And I'm in there with people like Maxine Waters and so many others that I was humbled.
Ordinary reality.
Ordinary reality, man. Ordinary reality. Listen, man, we got about 7 minutes left. So I have something that the Lord placed on my heart, but I want to give you an opportunity to close out any way, shape, or form you desire to. And then stick around a little bit because I'm going to share with you what the Lord has placed on my heart to close out the show with tonight. And I want to thank you so much for being here, but I'll say a little bit more about that later. But let me turn it over to you.
Brother, Reverend Dr. Lauren Russell, once again, man, I had a fantastic time again on Matters of Faith. what you have done with this show ever since the onset of it is phenomenal. And once again, while we're here, let me just once again congratulate you, Pastor Reverend Dr. Lauren Russell, as you are now, from what I'm understanding, you have organized a church there, and you are broadcasting on Sunday mornings, bringing the word and heralding the gospel. And just once again, thank you for your support all along the way in establishing Pristine Baptist Church here, and then everything that the Lord is doing with the church, and also with Lifeline University. One last thing I do want to say about the Lifeline, though. God has really blessed us. He has brought together pastors, rabbis, imams, and one of the other things that we have come together to address is this issue over in the Middle East with Israel and Hamas there, and so with one of the things that we have come away with so far, along with with the imam and with the rabbi, is that no one's hands are clean. No one's hands are clean. That's number one. But number two, one of the things that we have been able to demonstrate, Reverend Dr. Lauren Russell, is that we have more in common than we do than we do differences. The closest thing to a Christian is the closest thing to a Muslim is the closest thing to a Jew. And so we've learned to kind of like build on, those strengths that we have in common, and hopefully and prayerfully others can kind of like take that and duplicate it, so that we may be able to even bring peace to the Middle East. We're broadcasting every Thursday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. And I would love for you all and your guests, if they would like to, join us on Thursday mornings, they can as well.
Give us the link. Give us the link. Give me the link so we can.
Yeah, let me see if I can put it in the chat for you.
Okay.
Thank you again for having me. Over to you.
Okay, sounds good. Listen, I want to tell you that today is bittersweet for me. 52 years ago, on the day we celebrated Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, and before it became a national holiday, at 10:15 p.m., my beloved mother, Mattie Lou Holly Russell, was declared legally dead. It was a mountaintop experience for my entire family, my father, my brothers, my sister, and myself. It was mountaintop, but it felt like hell. Sometimes our mountaintop experiences can take place while we are at the lowest point in our lives, just as easy as it can when we are at the precipice of our greatest achievement. Having a mountaintop experience is an amazing and sometimes frightening event. Some you may want to preserve forever. Others, you want to fade away quicker than right now. At my home on Boston Road, I wished and hoped that it was a dream, that I would wake up and everything would go back to normal, that my mother would not have died. That never happened. I can tell you this, I never wanted to have that kind of mountaintop experience ever again in life. Of the three apostles with Jesus, it was Peter who blurted out, "Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Let us make 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." What Peter didn't realize at the time was that he had to take that mountaintop experience back to the world, back to the hood, back to sinful humanity. I also received a message from my mountaintop experience that I didn't realize at that time. I had to bring comfort to the brokenhearted who have lost loved ones. A big part of my ministry is providing words of comfort to bereaved families at their loved ones' homegoing services. I couldn't see over the mountaintop for many years after my mom's transition, but I see clearly now that all I went through was to reveal, as Reverend Dr. King said, the promised land. You remember the I have or I've been to the mountaintop speech that Dr. King made? You do remember that, don't you? When he said, well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop and I don't mind. Like anyone, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And he's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He spoke about the mountaintop, but he was really in a valley. The next day, he would be assassinated. To those who were with him, and those who were there to hear his sermon, to say that they wanted to stay at that Mason Hall and bask in the glory of those great words would have been nothing short of amazing. I'm sure if they had a choice, they would have stayed right there and received more inspiration and motivation from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But like Peter, James, and John, the lives of the ordinary people is where the essence of that experience would gain its true meaning. Despite the pain of the pulmonary embolism that snatched the life of my mother and felt like the lowest valley experience I could ever have, I remember the words of Dr. King when he said the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Reverend Dr. King had his mountaintop experience and made it into a social blessing, not because of what he did after the experience, but because of who he was by this mountaintop experience. Should your mountaintop experience come in 2024? This was my question, and this is my question. Are you prepared? Are you willing? Are you able to apply what you've learned through the experience to your ordinary realities? I want to thank you, Reverend Dr. Emery Ailes, my second guest for 2024 and second on this new platform for us called YouTube. You followed the great Reverend Dr. Zoleka Adams and pushed the bar even higher than she left it. Your mountaintop experiences and the way you have been able to apply them to ordinary realities must be replicated. So I thank you for helping us to sort of plan it out, how we're going to do that. Your sharing made me look at those experiences in a different light, which is why I told the story about my mother and her sudden death. What looked like a valley experience turned out to be a pinnacle experience, but I had to let it grow. I had to let it marinate in my spirit before I could see it. You have been able to navigate and identify, even differentiate between the valley and the mountaintop, and gave us some tools that will allow us to do exactly the same. I truly respect your mountaintop experiences and thank you for your transparency and sharing them with us tonight. I really do thank you from the bottom of my heart. You're not a newbie, not to matters of faith anyway. So be prepared to come back and bless us again real soon. That's okay with you, right?
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Russell. Anytime, I'm here for you.
Good. And I'll be with you on Wednesday for the Embrace the Spirit of Unity and Equality discussion. Please remember that. And matter of fact, I'm going to just skip up for a minute. I want to show this again. Y'all write this down. The NAACP meeting ID is 836-804-87404, and the passcode is KING. It's on your screen for you to see. So make sure that you're there, please. Now, don't forget our sponsors and advertisers. The JLR Company, J. Lauren R. Consulting, LLC, for all your church financial needs. Call 718-328-8096, 718-328-8096, or visit our website, www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com, www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. It's not about the castle. It's about the kingdom. Matters of Faith, the book, I've been talking about it tonight. This is the book. You can get it. You can use my Cash App to get the hard copy. Just send it to, just send me, the book is $23.92. Just send it to $ Matters of Faith, and I will make sure you put your name and address in there, and I will send you the book. Or you can get it as an ebook. www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. Let me do it one more time because you may not have gotten it. So write it down. www, you know what that is. You know that. smashwords.com/books/view/993177. Better Mag Magazine, www.abettermag.com. We need to subscribe and share and support this magazine. A 2-year subscription is just $27.50 for a 2-year subscription. www.abettermag.com. They publish every quarter, and they are carrying the Matters of Faith column in their magazine. And please don't forget, subscribe, like, and share this channel, this Matters of Faith channel. Tell a phone and tell a friend. Text, email, message, any way you do it. But tell your friends to join us regularly on Monday nights for Matters of Faith, the radio show. We're live on Matters of Faith, the YouTube channel. When this show is over, we're going to drop the recording of this onto our Matters of Faith Facebook pages. So it will be on Matters of Faith, J. Lauren Russell, as well as the Matters of Faith Facebook groups. So that's why I ask you, and I've been asking for the last 6 or 7 months, to make sure you subscribe, like, and share the Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Okay? Now, please, ma'am, please, sir, don't miss an episode of Matters of Faith because you did not subscribe, like, and share our YouTube channel. Now, the Lord bless you, the Lord keep you, the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. If no one told you this today, then let me be the first to say, I love you, and there's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. So get used to it. God bless you. I love you, and we're done. Good night. We'll see you next week. Don't forget, same time, same station. We will see you next